Morning, everyone. So today I'm taking a break from some of the gear stuff that I have. And I wanted to talk a little bit about inspiration, photography as a job, and I guess you could say peer discussions. So to start off, I wanted to talk about a conversation I had several years ago with a coworker of mine. And just to be clear, photography is not my job. But we live in the Omaha, Nebraska area. And I was talking to him, and I noticed on his desk he had some cameras. It's like, oh, great. You're interested in photography too. He's like, yeah. It's like, I love photography, but there's nothing to photograph in the area. And at the time, I kind of empathized with him because, let's face it, Omaha, Nebraska is generally considered kind of a flyover city. Nobody thinks of Omaha typically as a destination of any kind. However, the reality is there's tons of things to photograph. Now, are you going to get Ansel Adams style pictures in the area? I would say it's possible if you investigate what's actually in the area. Coming from St. Louis, a common conversation that I've had with people, and I've traveled a fair amount. Most of the people who live in the St. Louis area have never been to or up in the St. Louis Arch, unless they did it as a trip when they were kids. So there's a certain lack of appreciation for what's in your local typical area normally, generally. I mean, there are people who do, not to saying there isn't, but it's just, it seems to kind of relate. And anyway, after this conversation, I felt a lack of inspiration. But over time, and some education and growth on my part, I began to realize that he is completely incorrect. There are lots of things to photograph in Omaha. You want to be a street photographer. Omaha has a wonderful downtown, as does the neighboring city, Council Bluffs. It's old. It has a lot of interesting architecture. And there are, of course, lots of people walking the area because it's filled with lots of small shops. Council Bluffs has kind of a similar area, but it is smaller. It is a smaller city. And then there's lots of old little towns surrounding the area. If you were interested in landscape photography, there's the Loess Hills, Hitchcock Nature Preserve, and apparently there's also Preparation Canyon, which is about an hour, maybe an hour and a half drive away. And I have not been to that yet, but planning to do so. Anyway, so my point is, don't let other peers say there's nothing to photograph. There's always something to photograph. life in general provides opportunities to photograph. And I did not come to this realization easily on my own. I, over the years, have done a lot of self-education on photography. Now, before all this, I used to do some wedding photography. And over time, I learned it's part of a photographer's job is customer service. Part of customer service is knowing how to do your job and do it well and appreciate what you're doing. And because what you do, if you're doing it as a job, has impact on other people's lives. And those people will appreciate not just your technical skills, but you can, and I've heard a professional say this on a YouTube channel. He indicated that if photography is your job, then you have a job, and there's generally not creativity in it. And that's far from the truth. The job is what you make of it. Now, photography is not my job anymore. But I'm still doing that customer service part because the client in this case is myself. So I continue to try and evolve my skills. And for inspiration, I look at what other photographers have done. I don't try to necessarily mimic what they do. I just try to learn how they achieve the results that they're achieving and apply those tool sets and learn those tool sets for myself so I can improve my photography. A great one, if you've never heard of him or his channel, The Art of Photography. Ted Forbes has been doing this for years, and it's his job, and he does a fantastic job of producing these videos. And as a former teacher, he has a teaching slant to it, so it was very valuable for me. And of course, during COVID and all the lockdowns, the photography assignments that he has showed that you can photograph anything, stuff around your house, and you can learn from it. I mean, even if you're a landscape photographer, you can stretch your skills and do other things. So, anyway, he's just one of many photographers that I have learned from, most of it through YouTube. So if you're looking for inspiration, it's out there. But as with most things, to improve your photography and generate good results, it does take practice. It does take a willingness to expand your knowledge, things like that. Another aspect is, to a certain aspect, gear doesn't matter. If you have a camera of any kind, including what I'm shooting this video with, an iPhone, or you can use an Android phone. The cameras on these phones that are made today are outstanding, perfectly reasonable, assuming it's photography is not your job. You can be very creative. There's a ton of creative photography programs that you can get at pretty low cost. You know, if you want to shoot film entry is relatively inexpensive now. You can get a good camera set up. Go to keh.com. They do not endorse this video, have nothing to do with it. But you can find a lot of used gear there, both analog and digital, at good prices. And I've bought a number of things from them, and everything I've gotten from them has been really good quality. So just a hint there if you're looking for gear. Anyway, going back to inspiration, there's a lot of photographs that I've looked at, and it's like, yeah, okay. But, photography, like life, is a journey. And if you enjoy photography, you can expand your horizons and enjoy that journey. Don't let other people tell you that there's nothing there. If photography is your job, somebody might tell you you can't be creative, but you can. You just have to look for it. You have to work at it. That's kind of what makes it a job. So, if you need inspiration, of course, there's tons of YouTube channels of various photographers doing various projects. If you've never done it, learn to use light. Pick a window in your house, pick an object, take pictures at different times of the day. See how that light evolves and changes those pictures. Something as simple as that. Anyway, I guess that's enough of a kind of rant today. Anyway, have a good week. I'll see you next week with my next video. And later.